Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Titan Business Builders podcast. And today we have Wendy Glavin as a guest. Hello, Wendy. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And I'm going to try to announce you to our audience as good as I can. So, Wendy, you are a 30-year veteran of corporate agency and consultant. You're a published writer and a global speaker. You are the founder and the CEO of your agency, Wendy Glavin Agency. Which
Glavin.
Sorry.
That's my ex-husband's problem.
Always right.
No, it's his problem. My ex-husband.
And you specialize in marketing, executive writing, PR, social and digital media advisory.
Bravo.
Yes, got it. Welcome, Wendy. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I really appreciate your time because I'm pretty sure you have a lot on your plate. You just moved to a new place, so that's exciting, a new environment.
Yes.
You've been in New York all the time before that.
Yes, New York City. Yep. So I moved out of New York City after 30 years. April 30th was the first day of moving in. So it's soon. It was recent.
Wow. And why did you decide to leave the Big Apple?
So there's a combination of reasons. And people ask me this a lot. Did it have to do with the pandemic? To a degree, yes. Because the way we lived in the city all these years is in apartments. The apartment I moved from was 2 bedrooms. I mean, it had balconies, 31st floor, but, I have 3 sons, 29, 27, 22. So the 27-year-old was working for the president of Marvel. He got furloughed and then he got laid off last November. So he was living with me in that apartment. My youngest son, the 21-year-old, 22-year-old now, I was concerned about him going back to college in the fall because of the whole, all the COVID problems. So he had a remote internship doing his capstone. So he was home from September till December, and then he went back to college. He graduated. But anyway, during that time, if you can imagine, because the second bedroom was small, so basically, we'd have to find a way to work around it. So essentially, I ended up working in my bedroom, which was quite large, but with the desk and all that, and gave them okay, somebody works in the living room and then somebody works in the bedroom. So all of that was claustrophobic.
Yeah.
So there was that. And then also throughout my entire life, I've always loved the beach. I love the water. I love nature. So I think that the other thing about the pandemic is I decided, what am I waiting for? I mean, I'm not getting any younger. So it was actually difficult because I moved out to Southampton and it was a seller's market. So I started looking in January in the winter, and it's everything was gone. So, and then the question is why here? Because my ex-husband moved last year to a place in West Hampton. So the ultimate goal is, and is happening, is that when our 3 sons, whatever vacations or whatever it is, they come visit me and they come visit him, because we're only about a half hour away from each other. So that's actually what's happened, which is great. So my one son is here now. He just got a job. He's working for Gartner, a global business consulting firm. The 27-year-old drove him to play golf. And then my 29-year-old will be coming here in August, but back to the point of back and forth, with their dad. So that's really worked out well. And I just feel so much happier being surrounded by, trees and flowers and nature. And, it gets to the point in New York City with the pandemic where it's just, you're just claustrophobic and you can't outside, and then you can't do social distancing, and then people are arguing and not wearing masks and whichever side you're on, it's just like the whole thing just got to be sort of enough. And
So
yeah.
within those 30 years that you're already in business and having your agency, and is this like the biggest disruption that you have been through?
The biggest disruption?
Disruption, like not only on business, like I would say business wise, I guess for everybody, but how did it impact your business at this time?
So instead of going through my entire life story,
instead of going through
I'm introducing this. Instead of going through my life story, I would say my strongest trait, as are my sons, is being resilient. So I have worked from home or remotely for a long time. So in terms of work, I mean, of course, in terms of clients, things slow down a bit, but it in that way, it didn't have an impact on me. And in fact, I felt, of course the pandemic had an impact. I'm saying only in terms of like work. And I really felt that the amount of people I met, through LinkedIn live shows, just, it was like way more people than I think, because actually, how could you possibly meet that many people when you're going to an event and you have to travel there? And so I don't want to, I'm careful to use these words, but like, in certain ways, in few ways, but it did sort of bring up new opportunities and things about like, life is short, let's live, in the way that we want. So it was sort of a combination of a lot of different things like that.
Yeah, and actually, it brought you to create. This is what you told me as well. Like you created a new process during the pandemic, because it's something that has an impact on everybody, and people are trying to find their way in this kind of pandemic. New businesses starting because they had to pivot from what they were already doing to something new. But a lot of people that are started maybe are back to where they were before that. But I think it's valuable to mention that you created something which is called like Decode Your Value, to help people realize that it's good to change something, or it's good to find what they actually love doing as well.
So yes, I created Decode Your Value, the process in June, because I wanted to help people realize, because I kept hearing this, that, I lost my job, or I don't have money, or, I can't pay my rent, or things like that. So I wanted to help people realize you are not defined by the work you do, the work you did, your status, your role, your gender, your age. Instead of looking forward, look back at your background, your experiences, your relationships, your interests, and that no one has the same. So all of us are unique. My background is completely different than yours. Everyone's background is different. So if you come to that realization, the truth of the matter is you have no competition. So Decode Your Value, which I've continued to write about, is I include a life skills tree. It's a free download. In the beginning, I did my life skills tree, which includes your values at the bottom. And then it's a tree because in my head, I always sort of thought of the way that I think in an abstract way, like a tree. So it's sort of like, well, what about this idea? Like, what about this? What about this? What about this? So that was sort of where it came from. And so I'm trying to help people. And I'm really happy about the article I was published on Sunday. It's been doing really well, which makes me really happy because I want people to be able to, it seemed that finally it clicked. And I interviewed people that had used the process. They contacted me. And, one thing that was really significant is someone in an agency, New York City, Dorianne said that she did it herself and then she gave it to her team. And the thing that I thought was so valuable when I heard this from her, she said they never realized all the resources that they had because it was like resume, hire people based on your resume. But now all that's changing. People are looking at soft skills. So Dory was telling me that, they realized that, people had all these other interests or experiences or things that, wasn't defined in the specific role that they were doing. So she felt that, the whole team, became closer. They realized more about, one another and realized more about themselves. And, she's quoted in the article, and that, that makes me feel really happy, because then that's an example. That would be like one example of that was my goal. And that happened with Dory and her team. There's a couple other examples in the article, a podcast host. So there's a few different examples in the article of different people, how they used it, how they tracked. Another interesting story is somebody who majored in anthropology, and she's now in blockchain. So it's like, what is the connection?
Yeah.
So there's a quote in here from her, Lise Wagnac. And, so it's the thread that kind of goes throughout your life, so that you can look back and think about, wait, for example, my first job was working in-house at GE for 5 years. Nothing that I wanted to do. I mean, no disrespect to GE. Of course, it's a great start, but I wanted to be an actress or a lawyer, which I've described in the article why neither of those things happened. But so working in-house at GE, I graduated college, 5 years surrounded by, scientists and, data scientists, engineers, blah, blah, blah. So now we're talking about, and I'm not 30 years old. Okay. So now we're talking about, decades later, I'm a technology columnist, because I didn't realize at the time that complex technology terms, I was around. That was pretty much what I was around. So I was able to learn to decipher complex technology terms. So that's what I want, not technology for other people, but, look back and think of the threads throughout your life, because there's a lot.
Yeah. And I also believe that finding those values, finding that purpose is something that you need to do in order to connect to what you're doing in a job or in a business or whatever. Otherwise, why are you doing it,
Exactly.
And how much resistance are you creating if you're not doing it connected to your values or your purpose?
You're absolutely right. I mean, I completely agree with you. I mean, my values are like, and I was participated in recently a webinar about that, about, values, and it was a whole discussion about, can they be learned? Can they be, and personally, I believe that it's something that you learn from your parents or people, older people when you're young in your formative years, that they model that type of behavior, which my father did. He was a lawyer. My father is my hero. He died at 68, but in the formative years, he modeled certain things. So those have always stayed with me. So my values have not changed. I mean, a core one is honest. I'm always honest, even honest to a fault. I'll tell clients what they don't want to hear, but I would rather tell them the truth. And we'll get into founding my agency, but rather tell them the truth and them not hire me than, tell them make promises, which is not going to happen. So, I mean, I'm not like chasing business. It's more like if you, want to speak to somebody who will be honest and direct and tell you exactly like whether it can work, whether it can't work, whether your startup will be successful, won't be successful, all those different things. Like, I will tell you the truth. If I don't get the client, it's okay. Because I have never waned from that honest point.
This is something that a lot of people need to hear, I think, because they pretty much always try to connect it to what they have to offer, and they just try to almost force people to do what they are offering instead of just being authentic and letting it happen. Like you just said, they are scared that they will lose the business. What would you say to business owners that say, yeah, but I cannot do that. I cannot be authentic because I'm going to lose the business?
Okay, so here it comes, the other side of my personality. Okay, stop selling. Okay, stop selling. And this is not my quote. Okay, it's not my quote. It's probably Gary Vaynerchuk, but it's like, stop selling and start helping. So the selling thing is really a problem. And I'm going to make a big statement here, but the amount of people who contact me on LinkedIn, wherever it is, text me, call me, and have done zero research, zero. I mean, it's ridiculous. And it once in a, I mean, it's starting to really get on my nerves. Like, oh, you know, we were wondering if, you know, you needed a website designer. It's like, just do it. So all I'm saying is do a tiny bit of research. Just research go to LinkedIn, go to the person's website, just do some research and then stop. Like, don't just keep, you know, going ahead. And the thing is, and I'm using quotes that are not mine, but it's kind of a cliche, but it's like, if you love what you do, then the money will come. I think that, you know, especially because of the pandemic, you know, things have changed rapidly. So what I think is different and is an opportunity, it's okay that I'm, you know, sitting in a house where I just moved in, like, it doesn't matter. So I think that's a huge benefit. So of course, now we need to be authentic. You know, people have dogs in the background. My son just walked down the steps. But these are things that we never talked, or not we never did, but prior to the pandemic, it was way more just businessy. So I think that professional and our professional and personal personas have merged, because it would be impossible to have a call with you today, a Friday afternoon, and not, you know, be some reference to where I am or where you are or whatever. So, I mean, I would say that there's no choice. You have to show up. You have to be honest. You have to be authentic. And, you know, the most important thing in any relationship, whether it's personal or business, is trust. Mm-hmm. So if people trust you, then they will work with you. If people don't trust you, you can chase after all you want with the money, but it comes down to building relationships and trust. And building relationships doesn't mean calling somebody, cold calling, and be like, hey, I thought you might be interested in blah, blah, blah. No, it's taking the time to do research and actually be an active participant on social media, not just selling things, not just showing your things, building communities, whether it's Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, wherever it is. It's like building communities. I think we need to get out of our heads. I mean, look, I'm not young, but my article that I wrote on Sunday was how to create or build a brand that lasts. So why don't we say 60, me-ish. So I've continued to be able to work, okay, because of what I'm telling you. So I think I would say get away from the thing of thinking about money or whatever. And it's like, if you come from a place of honesty, trust, authenticity, you know, people will work with you.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with that. And it's something that a lot of people are still not grasping, is that once you go from selling something into an advisory role, you know, because if you sell something to somebody, that means that you have at least some knowledge on how to help them. So why not immediately already show that you can actually help them? Even if you're a salesperson, well, then do some research about what you're selling, right? And do some research about your customer. Being that advisor is so important. But I think you're right as well. When those two start to merge, the personal and the professional, is also where it's super important, if you want to be authentic, that you can connect to those values, those personal values. Because before, and I was in the same situation sometimes as well, you are this person and you go to work and you're this person.
Right?
You can do that when nobody knows you, right? But in this situation where everything is like flowing into each other, you have no other choice. So it's better, like you said, to know who you are and to be your authentic self and to search for what you love to do, so you can actually use that as helping other people. The other thing that I would say is, what I hear is that people want a quick fix. They want, yeah, but I need sales now. I cannot wait to create relationships for many, many years before I can do something with a business. What would you say to people that are so impatient?
Well, I have a perfect example, and that's you. Yesterday, I was out of town, and I saw what you posted on LinkedIn about me, and my reaction was, and we've never met before, my reaction was, I was in the car, and I thought to myself, oh my God, like, he did so much research. This is my immediate thing. So I didn't know Stefan, and I thought, God, this is like, I can't even believe he did all this research and like said everything that I do. Like I do. So already by doing that, like I'm instantly, I mean, we already had planned that I was on this podcast, but
Yeah.
I'm saying, seeing that Stefan had done that, whatever amount, and you can talk about that, it showed that he cared enough to find out about me, what I do or whatever. And that's very impressive. So I'm saying, to me, just that, I don't want to say just, but like that already is building a relationship, period. That's it. And I would say, listen, I've been on a lot of podcasts and I'm not putting other people down. I'm just saying that's a perfect example of what you posted on LinkedIn. I'm not speaking about myself, but I'm saying you do research on a person and let them know that you once they feel like you know them or understand, done some research, people appreciate that. People do not appreciate receiving cold calls and cold emails and you haven't even looked at the person's thing. I want to just give you one example. My oldest son graduated Colgate, and I think this is very interesting. I'm not going to start naming names, but he moved to Washington, D.C. and worked for a global business consulting firm. So this global business consulting firm said they hired 50 kids who graduated college, and they said, you have a quota. Okay, you have to set up 15 meetings per month. Okay, that's your job. 15 meetings a month, you set them up. So if you didn't meet quota, let's say you'd got 10 meetings, the next month becomes 20. So he and another girl, they beat quota. So I said to him, and this relates because it has to do with LinkedIn. I said, what did you do? Like he got promoted and then whatever, all those people were left and then they had 50 new kids. So I said, what did you do? He said, what I'm telling you, meaning I'm not saying I'm telling you. He told me, Mom, I researched every single company, every single thing that they do. I wrote I wrote personalized emails to each individual, company before reaching out to them. And so, he's continued to grow in his career and been promoted. And the point is just do research. It boggles my mind because, when I was young, we didn't have anything like this.
Yeah.
So, I don't understand. It's so easy. You can do anything. It's so easy to do research. You just read an article on Twitter. You just read something quickly. And I think that people need to read and do research. And research could take you 5 minutes. So I think it's not an excuse to just be one way, pushing your product and selling. That's just not an excuse. It just isn't. And the other thing is stop bait and switch. Like, oh, hey, I'm trying not to use a specific example.
Yeah.
But let me think for 1 second. It's like, so are you like, do you see that you get business from LinkedIn? Okay. Let's say that's the question. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, why would someone ask that?
Yeah.
So they're obviously asking that because they do something with LinkedIn selling. So I thought to myself, how do I want to respond? Okay, because I wasn't crazy about that question. Okay, so this question just happened and I thought a lot about it and I didn't want to blow the person off, but I just wrote yes. And when I looked, the person is a salesperson. Because it's like, you think to yourself, why would someone say that? I always try to think of the other side, which, by the way, is why I'm not a lawyer. My father was a prosecutor, and he said, you're never going to be a good lawyer until you see the other side. You're more of an advocate. So it's taken me years and years, but now I look at from the other side. Why is this person asking me this? Because they want to sell me something. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, the other thing is, if you can, and it's difficult to be able to see the other side, but it's almost like you're looking through a crystal ball. Try to think about, where is the person coming from? And the thing is that you don't have time. If your original point about there's no time, most people are working, hybrid, remote, whatever. Still, So what do you mean you don't have time? We have so much more time than we ever had before. I'm saying the little things of like commuting or going to an event. It's like maybe I went to one event in a day and then it's like, that's it. So there's like endless time. And you can write to any, I mean, people, I would say it's pretty much 24/7. So like people have written to me, like I happen to be a night owl. So 11 o'clock at night, you know what I mean? So that not have time, I don't know what words to say that aren't, that's bull.
Oh, yeah, I know. And but what you hear, and playing the advocate of the devil here, they would say, yeah, but I need to build a better website. I need to have a better picture. I need to create this or that. And that takes all my time. So when should I do research for actually talking to customers, And yeah, I mean, this comes up a lot. And this has to do, I think, as well with reaching out to your values. I mean, think about it. If you do not like to do sales or anything like that, or your perspective of that is too much distorted, you're gonna go away from that because you will not love to do it. And I can testify that I did not like to do sales calls at the beginning because I was looking at it from a bad perspective. If you look at it like you said, you just want to help people, then all my sales calls become so much fun because I'm just there helping people. And last sales call or call, I mean, maybe we shouldn't call it a sales call, but last call that I had with somebody, I just give him so much help and ideas. He literally told me, and this is a true story, that he got goosebumps from thinking what he could achieve with my advice. So I'm pretty sure that this person, even though he didn't want to continue at that time with me, he's going to remember me. And at a certain stage, he's going to say, now I'm ready. And who does he think about? Actually, the person that got him goosebumps, not the person that wanted to sell him whatever.
I agree with you 100%. I got a call from somebody, which is also in the article. I'm not trying to plug the article. I mean, there are plenty of articles out there, but she contacted me after 8 years. 8 years.
Wow.
And she called me and said, what you just said. I thought and to be honest with you, I had no memory as to where or how we met.
Yeah.
She said to me, I was talking to my husband and I said, who can I trust with this idea? And she contacted me. She's quoted in the article, but I mean, that's exactly to your point. And then when she said 8 years ago, I said, when do we even meet? And then she gave the specifics. So, I agree. I think that I think the other thing is with sales now, it's that we're in a pandemic. Okay. So please be sensitive to people who, while I'm saying you're not defined by the work you do, all that, but the truth of the matter is people have lost loved ones. People have lost family members. People are suffering. People are, don't have money or don't have enough money, can't pay their bills, can't pay their rent or whatever. So it's the worst time to be selling. I mean, I'm saying that I think we need to be empathetic and kind and thinking about, other people and, perhaps their circumstances. So I'm saying more so than ever before, selling it's not the way to go. So, and then we could go into, well, when does helping turn into money? So there's a fine line between helping, advising or whatever. And then of course, unless you're running a nonprofit or I was, then at some point it has to convert. But I believe that I believe and have lived it and experienced it, if you are active, if you're participating, if you're not focused on the money, regardless of how much money you have, something will come. If thinking about things from what you don't have, I don't have enough money. I don't have, the title that I want. I don't have enough, that's coming from a place of lack. So if you just switch your mindset, which you can, there's a book that Carol Dweck wrote. It's called Mindset.
Yeah.
So there's a fixed and, growth mindset. So, the fixed mindset would be, the good example I always remember is, like me, kids who got like a C in math or something. And it's like, oh, forget it, I suck at math. And so then that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the growth mindset says, okay, I got a C in math. Now let me go to the professor and figure out what I can do to like improve my grade or to learn more. That's the whole growth fixed mindset. So, I don't want to sound too spiritual, but, yesterday was yesterday, tomorrow is tomorrow. Like all we have is right now. There's another quote that says, do what you can in the next 24 hours to get to where you want to be. So I don't want to start with focus on the moments, all that kind of thing, but, we have plenty of time, and we have plenty of time to be open and willing to talk to people, whether they're being paid or not. And, anything, as because I know I get a good sense of you, is that, when you do good things, like it comes back to you in whatever different ways.
Yeah. And I think it's important to keep repeating this story and to keep educating people that they need to see beyond just the paycheck or just beyond what is out there. And I, for sure, only want to work with people that have at least a sense of that they want to build like some kind of legacy within their business. I could help a lot of youngsters that want to start like a business just to get rich in 5 years. But what about after those 5 years? Do they already have an idea what they want to do or who they want to be? And those are not the people that I want to help, to be honest, because if they do not know, it doesn't relate to what I have as values as well. So I think that as well is important. You want to work with people that have at least some kind of same kind of connection or values, and that will create that trust. That will create that factor that you need so they can actually jump on board with what you do. So that is truly also what I believe, for sure.
I have just one other example, which, while it's my son, my middle son, it is an inspirational story. I'm saying not just because it's my son. So he graduated Tufts, moved to LA, worked for Sony, worked for ICM. He was an agent assistant. Then he decided he didn't really want to live in LA. He moved back. He was hired by Marvel. So he worked for Marvel for a couple of years, and then he was furloughed and laid off. Now it'd be nice for me to be able to say, oh, well, it's because of me. But he realized, he didn't tell me this, but it makes sense to me. He was an English major at Tufts, strong student. So he thought to himself, well, why don't I write? So, and he had read screenplays for Sony and all that kind of stuff. So making a long story short, he ended up self-publishing a book, 26 years old, that was released last August, fiction based on growing up in Manhattan private schools, but not a Gossip Girl kind of thing, more, serious, different issues, racism, sexism, Anyway, so his goal was to sell 280 copies because he self-published it. So, I mean, I am his mother. So we together, and he's tends to be more of an introvert. So I said to him, if you want to sell 200 copies, we have to do a Zoom book launch. We have to do I'm not on Facebook. I said, fine, and you'll do it on my Facebook. So we did all that. And one of the things he said was his dream was to be in the New York Post. So time went on, and we together as a team. So we did all the things. And what happened was, with me as like a sidekick, with the Zoom book launch, he's sitting next to me. I have my arm. It's like, how do you feel about writing your first book? And he was like, I feel so proud or whatever. And I'm like, yes. And here's his book. You know what I mean? I was kind of a sidekick because I wanted to make him feel more comfortable. And anyway, I have a database, which is editors, journalists all over the world, any sector, any whatever. So create a media list of people who cover, private schools, Manhattan, Upper East Side. So the bottom line, and I'm not giving you all the other details, in the New York Post, that thing was so huge that he sold way more than 1,000 books, which is almost like unheard of for a known, quote unquote, no name person.
Mhm.
And this is a complete coincidence. It's not anything planned. So he ended up, a second book is coming out, which is completely coincidental, but it takes place in the Hamptons. So it's fiction. But that's what I had said to him a long time ago. Is like, is it because I moved here? He said, no, he was working on it a long time ago. So that's going to be coming out sometime in July. And then, we'll do the same types of things. And then it's likely that he'll move back to LA. But all I'm going to say with him as an example is not so much to talk about my son, but to say to younger people, you have skills, like whatever, gain skills. So if you lose your job, you don't have money, you can't find a job. It's the same to this other point. Look back. So he looked back, I guess. We didn't talk about it. I didn't have Decode Your Value at the time, and decided, well, I was an English major. I love writing, and just did it. And one thing led to the next. So, that it's no longer an excuse. It's not an excuse to say, well, I don't have any money, or, it's like, there are things that you can do. You can do things with no money. You can do research. You can get a book from the library. I mean, I can't emphasize enough, read and do research. I mean, I would say I'm a person who knows a little about a lot. Why? Because I read a lot, because I listen to people of all different ages. Like, I know about gaming. I was a judge at a global blockchain pitch fest. And a little bit before, there were some gaming companies. So I said to one of my sons, would you care if, like, you could, take weapons and skins and move them to another game? Like, do you ever buy that stuff? They're like, no, why? And I said, no, I'm just asking, is that of value to you? And they said, no, it's not a value, because it doesn't make the player more competitive. It's just like, kind of like, I guess people think, young people think it's a cool thing. So in the Global Pitch Fest with the two gaming startups, but not exactly startups, that was a question I asked. Meaning I had 5 minutes worth of a conversation, and because I said, you guys play Fortnite, would you care if you could transfer? And so that was the question I asked. So what I'm saying is, listen and be aware and get information from around you. Learn from people around you. I mean, 5 minutes about Fortnite, and then there I am, like, and they're writing to me about, like, no, like, because of course they wanted to win, like, get the money, win. So then they're, you know what I mean? So you just take from pieces, like, just pay attention to everything around you. Just pick up so much information. I mean, you don't have to be like narrowly focused, like, just broaden. I mean, I learn something new every single day. I'm saying, whether it's like from one of my sons, or whether it's from, a neighbor, or, you know what I mean? Just, I'm always learning.
There's my father. Yeah. That happens live, see.
Hi, how are you?
So I will close off here so I can help my dad here.
Okay.
Thank you, Wendy, for your time.
It was a pleasure meeting you. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, and please keep in touch, okay?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.